It's the habits that have immediate gratification that are difficult to break.
Yeah.
The habits that have that postpone your gratification, delayed gratification,
Yeah.
sorry, are the ones that are difficult to, or easy to break rather.
Yeah.
So you realize something, that everyone has a morning routine, but everyone's morning routine is subconscious. They've not designed it for themselves, right? It's just happened. Idea is that whenever you want to create a habit, you have to get your intention right. So the purpose is whatever the habit is going to do to your life. But why do you need this habit? Sometimes, my clients are very hardcore. So many of my clients are like CEOs of companies, right? So their entire thing is like, push, I'm going to be hardcore. If I smoke a cigarette today, I'm going to give 50,000 rupees to the next charity. Matlab, like, that cigarette costs you 50,000 rupees. Please, stop doing this nonsense, right? Do you realize how you put on your shoes? Do you put sock, and then your shoe and shoe? Or do you do sock and shoe and sock and shoe? Nobody knows this till tomorrow morning when you try and see how you wear your shoes,
Yeah.
right? So these are all unconscious. And when you're living an unconscious life, what is the point?
We all want to be successful, and a lot of us think success will come overnight. But success is the result of smaller efforts put in day in and out, using the power of habits, routine, and rituals. And in today's episode, I invited Ashdin Doctor to talk about habits and how we can build the rituals and routine that can help us shape our life. While you might think that Ashdin is a doctor going to be talking about routines, that's his surname. He's not a real doctor. Ashdin's own journey started at low point of his life, overworked, unhealthy, and sleep deprived. But after going through this rough phase, Ashdin transformed his life. He started learning about the rituals, habits. Now, today, Ashdin is one of the most influential voices when it comes to building habit. He is the author of the new book, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. He runs an organization called Awesome 180, where he helps people cultivate great habits, and also he hosts a popular podcast called The Habit Coach. Ashdin and I try to make this conversation as practical as possible for you to understand deeply about how do you really break the bad habit cycles, why accountability can be a great thing for you if you are looking at building great habits, why guilt doesn't work in this journey, and also we explore the concepts of rewards, delayed gratification, and how to create a habit string for those of you who don't have a morning routine. This is one of the most practical episodes when it comes to building your habits, and there are a lot of takeaways that you can implement immediately after this episode. So pay attention, take notes, and let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Inspiring Talk podcast, and I'm super excited to be joined by Ashdin Doctor.
Thank you. Very
Should
excited
I
to
call
be
you
here.
Doctor or should I call you Ashdin?
Ashdin.
Okay.
Doctor will confuse everybody.
Yeah.
Because I didn't actually work for my degree. I was born with it.
Wow.
So I didn't have to do all those nonsense 5-7 years of
Born
studies.
with Doctor.
Born with doctor.
But that's interesting, right? The first time everybody looks at like, hey, here's a doctor talking about habit. That makes it authentic, isn't it? I think you must have had...
100%. Please tell me what to do about this particular illness. And I was like, listen, I don't really know. Please go speak to a doctor. But you're a doctor. Why are you lying to us? Just say you will not help us. I said, Hare, can't help you.
And that must have been really interesting, even in your school and all the college growing up. And
School, it was pranking. Doctor, give me injection, all of those kinds of things.
Awesome. So first, congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
How is it coming along?
Oh, fantastic. We just launched it in the start of this month. So 1st Feb it came out. And it's called Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. And it's published by HarperCollins. And it's the first book that I've ever done. And it's the first of many, many that will come out.
Of course.
So very exciting. Actually, they're coming, multiple coming out this year itself. So it's very exciting because it's a completely different industry from podcasting and habit coaching, which is what I do.
Yeah. So let's pick something from the book.
Okay.
Where you've said bad habits can be good sometimes.
Okay.
So what do you mean?
So, the thing is that as a habit coach, you meet somebody at a party, right? And you talk to them and they say, oh, habit coach, you should see my bad habits, right? That's the first thing that they always say. And I always find it really funny about the way that we are so proud of our bad habits, right? I'm so proud of the bad habits that I have. And every time we talk to people, it's always about, I want to change only the bad habits. Till we realize that there's no such thing as good or bad. Like throughout the entire podcast and throughout habit coaching, I've realized that there's no good or bad. It all depends on what you're going through in life. Right? See, that bad habit came into your life for some reason at some point of time. Maybe that bad habit of smoking or drinking came because you wanted to fit in with your new friends, right? Maybe you wanted to fit in with the office that you joined. Maybe smoking or drinking was part of that coming home from work and feeling this is the pause of the day before I start something else. Right? It all had a purpose. So as long as the habit has a purpose, it's going to be very hard to remove it. So as a result, a bad habit is only a habit that still has a purpose. If it is harming your health and you realize that you want to change and you have the intention to change it, then there are certain steps to start changing it. But thinking of it as bad and good, it always depends, right? For some people, having bread might be a bad habit, right? Gluten and all of that. But if you're in the middle of a desert and you find bread, it's sustenance, it's what is needed at that point in time. So good and bad is relative, and hence the word bad habit should not exist.
No, I think I absolutely love the idea of you saying that there is a purpose and that's why that exists, right? So let's then go back to understand what are habits.
Lovely. So the way that I like to define habits is anything, any action or thought that is repeated at a consistent time frame, right? So let's understand these two things. Normally, we only think of habits as actions. Smoking, for example, like we just discussed, tying your shoelaces, brushing your teeth. These are all actions. What we miss out are the thoughts that we have. And we don't realize that the thoughts are also habits because we have habitual thoughts, right? Thoughts that come every morning. How many people say, oh God, snooze, alarm, right? Oh God, I have to wake up again, same crap, new day. All of these are thoughts. And what we don't realize is that these form habits. And eventually, over a period of time, these habits come together and form the life that we have. So if you wake up every morning thinking life is bad, guess what life is going to be? Right? It's going to be bad. So understanding that these are the thoughts that you have and now figuring out how you can change them. So the second part of the definition is at a consistent time frame, right? So the time frame should be like every day or every 4 hours or every 2 days, because what happens is the repeatability of a habit is something that is crucial. If you do your daily crossword once a month, it is not a habit, right? It is something that you just did randomly. Those don't make that much of a difference to your life. But the stuff that you do repeatedly makes a big difference, because like we say, consistency is actually where the magic lies in all of this that we do, right? Even in your podcasting, it's the consistency of doing the podcast. You've been doing it for so many years. Right? It's the consistency of the podcasting that makes such a big difference. So the habits are nothing but your actions and thoughts done consistently.
Okay. So now let's go back to the purpose thing that you mentioned, that there is some purpose. Then how does one really go about identifying what was that purpose, or what is the purpose of? Because I have this habit of, which is not serving good for me. Let's define probably that, right? So what is
serving me or what is not serving me?
Instead of saying good or bad habit, let's say like, what is the habit that's going to help me grow, or what is something grow or feel better, or whatever that is, or the habit that's not helping me become better.
You hit the nail on the head. It all starts with this, what is this purpose? And you'll soon realize that half your life doesn't have a purpose, because almost all those habits that are there have been formed subconsciously or unconsciously. That means these are habits that you picked up from friends. These are habits that you picked up from your family members. These are habits that you picked up watching TV, of all things, right? You saw people doing it and you started doing it thinking that is the normal way of doing things. But you did not consciously create these habits. And as a habit coach, my entire focus is to make sure that you become consciously aware of all the habits that you're doing. Right? Are you aware of the way that you're sitting? What's your posture like? Are you aware of the way that you're talking? Are you doing ums, ahs, oohs? All of these are subconscious things. You don't even realize that we're doing them half the time. Right? Like my favorite example is, do you realize how you put on your shoes? Do you put sock, and then your shoe and shoe? Or do you do sock and shoe and sock and shoe? Nobody knows this till tomorrow morning when you try and see how you wear your shoes. Right? So these are all unconscious. And when you're living an unconscious life, what is the point? Right? We normally think of habits as automated. Yes, they're automated, but you can consciously create habits that drive your life in a particular direction. And I think that is the key to the way that you start choosing the habits that you want to form.
What I could make out from what you just shared is awareness is probably where it begins. Even if you want to change the habit,
Correct.
then being aware of how I do certain things.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So observing yourself, right? Or having somebody observe for you, right? You can, so accountability partners can be used in multiple ways, right? In the book, you must have read about the entire chapter on accountability partners. Now in the book, I've spoken about it from a point of view of if I'm putting a new habit, the accountability partner is there to make sure I follow it. But your accountability partner can also make you aware of unconscious habits that you have. Ashdin, do you know that you like pull your nose every time you're talking about something? Do you know that you do this to your ear? These are all things that we don't realize. So your accountability partner can actually help you with this as well.
No, I absolutely love the idea of accountability partner, and also generally like having somebody, not necessarily saying that hey, you are going to be my accountability partner in health or fitness or whatever. That works. And also having somebody who really like can openly, where you have created the space where you can openly share about their habits or their patterns at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And also being able to do the same for them, right? And which I love calling like showing the mirror. Like, all you're doing is just like showing the mirror. And I have been shown mirror so many times. Just to give a simple example, I would sit on a dinner table and I'll just have stuff, and I'm impatient in a lot of things, right? And there we are, sitting at the dinner table, and I would wrap up early, and I won't even realize, but I've just gotten off the dinner table, put my plates in the kitchen, and then all of a sudden I realize, oh fuck, I've just left a person there on dinner table.
Correct.
And it was like very unconscious, right? Subconscious. And when that got to my awareness, I'm like, oh shit, this is something that I need to start working on, and it definitely got better after that. So so maybe you can explain the concept of accountability partner, and like having somebody like, hey, I'm gonna do this, but what are the few things within the accountability system that really works, that you have found that how you can really hold yourself accountable to your accountability partner?
Somebody. So I think it starts off in 2-3 ways. The first thing is to be very clear on what they're going to be accountable for. Okay, so you set your parameters very well, saying that, listen, I have told you that I'm going to go for a walk every night after dinner. You have to make sure that I go for my walk after dinner, right? That means I will report to you if I've gone for my walk or not, right? And that is the clarity of the accountability partner thing. A second aspect of accountability partners is that you have a safe space between the two of you. Right? Creating a safe space is very important. Safe space in the sense that now I'm scared that person will shout at me, so I'm going to lie. Right? If I'm going to lie, what is the point of having the accountability partner?
True.
Right? So having that relationship with the person where you can say without feeling judged. Right? That is the safe space that we're talking about. So how can you have a person that won't judge you in the way and yet keep you accountable, saying, remember, you said you're doing this, now you tell me when you're going to do it. It's not why you did not do it. Right? Every time you say why, you're basically putting the person on the back foot. Now justify this behavior to me. When are you going to do it? Right? What happened? Is there something that we can do about it? Acha, you ate too much. Acha, you ate too late. Right? That's why you couldn't go for a walk. No problem. Tomorrow, make sure you eat at 7. Those conversations make a big difference. And finally, don't bombard your accountability partner. Right? If you do this every single day with the accountability partner, it might get a little bit much. So sometimes you might have an accountability partner and you check in every week. It makes sense also to do that.
And what about the reverse? Like if I don't do this, and there are concepts, right, where if I
like negative reinforcement.
Negative reinforcement.
So I've never seen negative reinforcement work properly. Okay, that's my way of, like, I've been coaching for so long. Sometimes my clients are very hardcore. So many of my clients are like CEOs of companies, right? So their entire thing is like, push, I'm going to be hardcore. If I smoke a cigarette today, I'm going to give 50,000 rupees to the next charity. Matlab, like, that cigarette costs you 50,000 rupees. Please, stop doing this nonsense. Right? But the point is that negative reinforcement I've never seen work. I've only seen when their intention wants to change and when the habits to support that particular bad habit, inverted commas, are removed, only then does that change take place. So negative reinforcement, I'm not a fan of. Positive reinforcement, to a certain degree, I'm a fan of. Okay, now let me explain. There's a certain pride that you get in tick marking something off your list.
Yeah.
Right? So that's also a form of positive reinforcement. There's certain pride that you get in messaging your friends saying that I did this.
I did it. Yeah.
Right?
True.
But you go for a walk and now you say my positive reinforcement, my gift to myself is to have that brownie and that chocolate mocha, right? With 2 sugars in it. Now what you've done is you've taken that positive reinforcement and you've made it work against the habit that you actually created.
True.
Right? So as a result, you shot yourself in the foot. And to be completely fair, this is exactly what I used to do when I started. Okay, 9 years ago, I used to go for a walk.
Yeah.
At the end of that promenade, there was a barista. And I would go to the barista and I would order my coffee with 2 sugars in it and 1 brownie. And I was like, I deserve this. Right? So you realize over a period of time that maybe this is not the way to do it.
Yeah, I think absolutely that makes absolute sense, right? So now somebody is aware of the habits. Oh, this is what I do. And we're talking about the purpose as well, right? So what is the purpose that this habit is serving? What next?
The idea is that whenever you want to create a habit, you have to get your intention right. So the purpose is whatever the habit is going to do to your life. But why do you need this habit? It all starts with having the right intention. So as a habit coach, I've always said that my war is on this word called motivation. Okay? You must have read the chapter called Motivation Sucks, right? There's a chapter called Motivation Sucks because motivation really is that bad. Motivation is this spark that will burn the forest, but it'll burn it in one day. And it's done.
Yeah.
It is not a slow, simmering thing that you need for consistency. Remember, at the start of the podcast, we said consistency is what actually makes the difference. Right? Anyone can go to the gym for 1 day or 2 days. But can you go for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, your life, right? That is the power of consistency. So motivation forces you or pushes you or drives you or pulls you to do it once. But intention setting, and when you set an intention that is very, very personal to you, that is when you know that if you miss this, you're actually hurting this one key intention that you had for yourself.
Give an example.
So, for example, the example I give in the book is also very nice, which is about yoga. Right? So, this is from a client of mine. The client comes and tells me, Ashdin, I want to start yoga. Great. So, we follow the 3 why method of finding intentions. Okay. So, I want to start yoga. Tell me why. I want to start doing yoga so that I can become more flexible. Okay. That's the first why. Second why is, why do you want to become more flexible? Right? So, you ask the why on the answer. Why do you want to become more flexible? I want to become more flexible so that I can sit on the floor. Why do you want to sit on the floor? So that I can play with my child. Right? Now that is a very personal thing. Right? That means if I can't sit on the floor, I can't play with my child. Almost connotations of bad mother. Right? Or whichever way that she is processing this in her mind. So you realize that now she's understood why this yoga is important. This yoga is not important because she bought new yoga pants.
True.
This yoga is not important because she got a new yoga mat or a friend is doing it. It's because of her child and she wants to spend that energy and that time with the child. So you see now that this intention is something where every time she wants to miss the class, she'll say, but my baby, I can't play with. No, I'm going to do it. Right? Or let me see what is the smallest thing I can do at least for this. So that is the way intention keeps you consistent. It fuels you along for a longer period of time instead of just one spark.
So what are the few things that you have seen works really well? And because one of the common questions whenever we say that we're going to do podcast around habit, and one of the questions that most commonly asked question, and I'm sure as a habit coach you get this question often, that how does one break the loop of bad habits, as people will perceive the habit, as we discussed, that's not serving them.
Lovely. So the first thing to understand is that the same way that you found your intention, you have to do the same thing for your bad habit. Right? Why do you want to change it? Then it has to come down to something personal. Right? Either something has scared the living daylights out of you, right? Which is typically how we end up, unfortunately, changing bad habits. Or you've intellectually realized or emotionally realized that this is not serving you in some way. Right? yes, smoking was a part of my life at this point of time, but it's no longer there. Similarly, maybe telling lies was an important part of my time because maybe my confidence was low, but now my confidence high. I don't need to be lying, but out of habit, I'm lying about these things. You see that these habits that don't serve us fall into all these categories, right? For some people, and this is a strange example, but for some people, marathon running might not be serving them anymore, right? Long distance running might not be serving them anymore. They might be having aches and pains. They might be seeing that the body is shrinking and all whatever, and they want to change, but they can't. So it's still a habit that is not serving them. It's not necessarily a bad habit, but it's a habit that's not serving. So you first get down to that intention. Then what you do is you remove or change the environment as much as possible. Okay, so if you want to stop smoking, don't have cigarettes around, don't have lighters around, don't have ashtrays around, right? Don't go to the places where you would typically smoke, right? If you want to stop drinking, don't have the alcohol around, right? It is all that part of changing the environment first. Then what you have to do is you have to find a replacement. Okay, what happens is that when you randomly pull out a habit, you create a vacuum, right? And another bad habit, unfortunately, gets sucked in to replace that vacuum. So my grandfather, okay, my mom's father, was a smoker. Like he used to light one cigarette after the next with the same cigarette, like that kind of a smoker. One fine day, he quit smoking. But he got addicted to medical drugs. So now patties of drugs would come in, medical, like tablets. And that's what his thing was. Now I'm just going to be having these all the time. So you realize that it got replaced with something. Now you have to consciously choose what you replace it with. So a client of mine replaced his evening smoke with going to the gym, right? Another client replaced his evening drink with spending time with his son. Right? There was something that he did. Somebody else spent it with going for a walk with their parent. So you realize that there are ways in which you can replace that time when you would have actually done this activity with something else. So don't put yourself in that situation and change that activity that you're doing or replace it. And that's the best way of getting about a change.
And what role have the reward, whether that's chemical or psychological reward or physical reward, play in this whole thing? Like the example of playing with the child, right? So that means that's the form of reward. At the end of it, you will feel great that I chose to play with my kid
instead of something else.
Yes.
So what I've realized is that Power of Habits talks about the whole habit loop and the reward part of it. I have never seen the loop work completely. Okay, what I've instead seen work very well is what I call a habit train. Okay, the habit train is a very simple idea. It is that your habits strung together pull each other along like a train. Okay. So if you can string enough habits together, your entire life will be pulled along very peacefully. Right? Like my morning routine is pulled along without an ounce of struggle.
What does it look like?
I wake up in the morning at 5, immediately I go brush teeth, loo, come sit on my sofa, put water to boil for my coffee. In the meantime, I'm doing my journaling. Coffee is ready. While coffee is cooling down, I'm doing my meditation. Right? So you realize one is pulling the other, right? Immediately after I finish my coffee and my meditation, I sit down and write my podcast, right? So now it's gone into my creative work, right? So by 7, I've already finished all these activities that are there. 7:30, I would go to the gym, right? So my physical activity has also happened. Somewhere along the line, the reading would have taken place. So all of this flows very smoothly into each other. And that is what I see function far better in a practical way than I did this, now I want reward. I did this, now I want reward. That means without reward, you won't do it. You get so hooked onto that idea of the reward that I think it doesn't make sense for a long-term change.
So now, for somebody who do not have habit, any of this in the morning, right? And we are saying that there's a string of habits that you need to build on. Then how does one really get into the zone where you are actually creating the habit train, as you have said?
So you realize something, that everyone has a morning routine, but everyone's morning routine is subconscious. They've not designed it for themselves, right? It's just happened. I'm telling you to consciously design it. That's the difference. So many people's morning routines start with what? Snooze 15 times, right? Many people's mornings habits, I'm going to laze in bed and then I'm going to rush through the morning to get into the car to go to work. Right? So your morning was only started rushed. What is the rest of the day going to be like? So the morning is like, if you ask me, what is the most important habit routine, the morning one, right? Because that sets you up for the rest of the day, right? Even more important is actually the night routine before the morning, because that sets you up for the morning. But technically, the morning routine is the key. And if you can at least start working on that, at least do 3 conscious habits in the morning, you will see a dramatic difference in the way your day unfolds. And ultimately, your days form your months, and your months form your years, and your years form your life.
Yeah.
So that is the importance of why that morning is so critical.
Yeah, I can't agree more on how powerful the morning routine is, and something that I've been,
What's
trying
your
to-
morning routine?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was coming to, right? So I wanted to like really, I started like waking up. I wake up somewhere around 6, and after I wake up, like again, water, loo, and stuff, and I come back and meditate. And once I've done meditating, then I just or sometimes before meditation or sometimes after meditation, I take my dog just out for a quick walk, and I would come and either meditate or journal, depending on like whether I took her out first or second. So then after that, I'll just have a quick journal of what am I feeling, and also look at like what my day looks like. And after that, I go for the workout.
Lovely.
And then one thing that I have realized is once you go for workout on a regular basis, or once you've done few things on a regular basis, then you don't feel like eating junk. You feel like, hey, I've just gone to the gym and I want to eat healthy. So then usually I have a very healthy breakfast. Either it's fruits or some protein shake, of course.
You're not intermittent fasting?
No, I'm not into intermittent fasting.
Really must.
Must.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Explore it at some point.
Yeah, so I would love to explore that, but I typically have dinner sometimes like 8, and then I think I break it up with my protein shake somewhere around 8. So 12 hours anyway. There's like I don't eat, even if I have not had any dinner. If it's less than 9 or 10, then I'll just don't eat anything. So that's something that.
What is your non-negotiable habit in the morning?
So my non-negotiable habit in the morning, I try to meditate. So that is something that I feel that when I just calm down, and that is something that I want to do. And now again, like I'm adding going to work out as going to the gym is one of non-negotiables, and I have been super consistent. I feel like not even taking a day off. Like I'm going every day.
Yeah, you enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I
like,
enjoy
why
it.
do I
Like
need to?
I absolutely. So I enjoy it so much, and and on the days when I don't feel like lifting weight, I'll just go and do yoga, but I'll just show up. So that is something that typically what it looks like. And after I come back from the gym, then I'm working on something which is important, right? And all this while, my phone is on airplane mode. And
Really?
yes.
Chalo, that's very good.
Yeah.
This is something that I don't do.
Yeah. So I
superb.
put it on airplane mode when I'm sleeping, and then I only turn it on after I have done that like first task that I need to finish on that. Sometimes that's writing posts, sometimes that's doing something or the other, something that's important and urgent for that day. And once I'm done, then after that, like I check my phone and then come to office. And by the time when I come to the office, that 1 hour of work that I've done, right, that actually makes me feel like I have accomplished pretty much what I wanted to accomplish in the day. And I think that don't make you feel like, oh, I haven't done anything this day, on today. So
I used to tell my office in pre-pandemic times that I finish all my work by 11.
Yeah.
Right. All the work that I want to do, I finish by 11.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the day is meeting people, talking to people, exploring new ideas.
Yeah.
But that is the way to start thinking about it, right? How much of your time can you own instead of spreading it out and giving it to people? And especially time that is high energy time. Morning time is high energy time.
True. So yeah, I think, again, I won't say that this is perfect. I won't say like this is exactly what it looks like every day. There are days when I, just...
don't feel like doing anything.
Yeah, I don't feel like doing anything. I'll just let it be. And I also keep like Saturday mostly like pretty chill, where, I might wake up a little late and just laze around and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't be too hard on myself for not being, but
Correct.
But what has really helped me in all of this is having a physical habit tracker.
Yeah. You enjoy the tracking of the habit and putting it in.
Yeah.
How do you track your habits?
So I have this journal. It now looks like I'm on Ashdin's podcast, but that's fine.
That's the problem with interviewing podcasters. The whole table suddenly turns.
So I have this journal.
Correct.
And that journal allows me to write. So it essentially has this, 7 small circles, right? And it has like 5 empty, column. So I can essentially write what are the habits that I want to track on that particular week.
Nice.
So I'll write those habits, and like on Sunday evening, I'll write, okay, this is the habit that I want to track because I have not been able to be consistent with this habit last week. So I'll write those down, like meditation, workout, and I also want to take my dog to park every evening. Like that's 45 to 60 minutes. I just want to be with her in the park and run, and we love running together, by the way. So yeah, do that, and I will like take Jamun to park, and then I'll in the evening I'll just put the circle on that, and when I see that shit, I was not able to miss it, and and next morning, and some of the days I would just like circle it in the morning itself. That today I'm gonna make it happen no matter what.
Manifest.
So manifest in the morning. So that really works. Look, what else?
I was just going to say, it's so important to get the right kind of habit tracking that suits you. Right? This kind of habit tracking suits some people.
Yeah.
For me, this is too structured. So for me, it is a yellow post-it note with tally marks.
Okay.
Right, so I like the tally mark, kachak. Right,
5.
So the 5 things. So that is what works for me. I like it rough and ready.
Yeah.
Another client of mine had full Excel sheets.
Yeah.
Right, with reasons why it happened, with reasons why it didn't happen.
I find that too daunting.
But that was what that person enjoyed. Right, he's like, my Excel sheet's open anyways throughout the day. There's one more that's open. So what? I had another client who had this whiteboard that he used to keep in his office with all the habits. And his secretary had become his accountability partner. Sir, what happened to this day? Sir, what happened to that day? Right? And then every week, we would take a picture and he would send it to me about this is what happened. So there are different ways in which you can go about tracking, but at least you are aware. And like you've read everywhere, what you measure changes.
Yeah, and absolutely. And, there are few habits, few projects rather that I want to like really work on, but I just don't have time to, and those go, those are the few things that goes empty for like few weeks.
Intention is not a set.
Yeah.
Because the reason why you want to do it is not clear. Because if it was burning, you would
find the time.
Yeah, you would change everything too.
Yeah.
Right?
Fit it in.
So you need to figure out that maybe it's not something that is necessarily important at this particular point of time. Shelve it so you don't feel guilty. Because the guilt gets you.
Okay.
Right? You understand what I'm saying? Like it's the guilt of I'm seeing this
empty thing.
Like the worst is having a plant that is dying in front of you, right?
Yeah.
At home. This plant, I've tried everything to revive it. I put in the sun, I've taken it away, I put water. Now it's just staring at me in the face, going like, I'm dying. So like either you can look at it or put it away in some place so that you don't have that constant guilt looking at these things.
And why do you think guilt doesn't work? And this reminded me when we were in school or college, like teachers would try and say that if you don't study, you are gonna be in the fish market selling fish or whatever, right? So teacher would say all sort of things, right? You would be doing this and that, and you will not be able to do anything. And it just didn't work on you, right? You felt bad at that point of time, but it didn't really help you change any of that habit. So why do you think like guilt as an emotion doesn't work?
No, guilt as an emotion is one of the most toxic emotions when it is implemented well. Okay, now what I mean by that is that you know that you're not going to land up in a fish market, technically.
Yeah.
Right, so it is not implemented well. Right, but if the teacher has said, how much hard work I put into you, you know that I'm not spending time with my child, but I'm spending time with you all so that I can do this. And she had laid down a full guilt trip on you, you all would all be crying. Right? Like it's one of the best ways to like, in office also, right? Like, I expected more for you. You expected more for me and I was not able. So you realize that guilt used right way is extremely toxic. It's not something that I hope
encourage.
People use. It's not something I encourage, correct? But you must understand that you must try your best not to have that guilt. So even the word I was about to use is should, because should adds guilt.
Yeah.
You should drink 6 glasses of water. That means if you don't, you're doing something wrong. Guilt. Right? So you must understand that guilt is toxic. As far as possible, don't use guilt to, inverted commas, motivate you into things. Right? Don't use guilt to push you towards things. And if people are there in your life who are using guilt for you, you need to be aware of it. Because many parents use guilt, many lovers use guilt, many friends use guilt. Acha, no, you had time for everyone, but you didn't have time to meet me, no?
Yeah.
Guilt, right? So now I've started doing the other. Ashdin, you become so big, no? So busy you've become. You don't have time for us. Yeah, really, I don't have time for you all. Oh, right. So just like realize that somebody's trying to guilt trip you, throw it back in their face. That's the only way that you can actually deal with it.
Setting the right intention. And we discussed about accountability. We discussed about tracking. Okay. So what are few things that people can do to build consistency of the habits? Because you said habit is a consistent action that you are taking, right? For
Correct.
anything that you want to accomplish. Then where does the consistency come from?
Lovely. Okay, so in the book and throughout, I talk about 3 golden rules of habit change. Okay. And the idea of these 3 golden rules of habit change is very important. The first one is make it stupidly small. The second one is make it extremely easy. Now, to understand more about that, please buy the book. But we will talk about the third one in detail. Okay, the third one is the habit for consistency. And the habit says, never miss 2 days in a row. So the habit is, the golden rule is never miss 2 days in a row. What does that mean? That means you are allowed to miss 1 day, right? The problem is that we are so used to following things like the 21-day rule for habit change. We're so used to following things like, I need to form my habit chain that cannot be broken, right? And what happens is that when you start doing this, you become very rigid, very machine-like in your approach. What happens if you've been doing something for 20 days and on the 20th day you could not do it? That means was all the effort that you put in useless, right? The point is that we don't add the human aspect to life into the way that we think about habits. We think about them too mechanically. So the golden rule of habit change, which is never miss 2 days in a row, talks about this. Sometimes life comes in the way. You fall sick, your child falls sick, you're late at work. Today you might be late at work, you might not be able to take jamun for a walk, right? All those things will play in your mind. Missing 1 day is perfectly fine. Okay, it does not break your habit. But missing 2 days breaks your habit. You know why? Because now excuses become the new habit. You become better at making excuses every time you miss it instead of becoming better at the habit that you are trying to form. So as your habit coach, I will never say, bad boy, you missed the day, right? I will be perfectly fine. I'll say, no problem, don't have an ounce of guilt. But you miss 2 days and you'll get one fatka from me, right? That is the way to think about it. Never miss 2 days in a row, because that 2 days is where the consistency comes in from. So always create your plans where you can make sure that you miss 1, but never miss 2. So today I missed my exercise. Tomorrow I've realized my gym, and my hotel has a gym. Got my gym clothes. I'm going to do my exercise tomorrow. Never miss 2 days in a row.
So when, also when you were sharing this, one of the things that was coming in my mind was it takes you quite a long time to build habits, and it takes so less fraction of that time to break it, right? Like you said, if you miss it for 2 days, then it's not necessarily that you will completely not do it, but it's highly likely, and I can completely relate to that, right? So that's why I told you, right? I don't even feel like stopping going to the gym, because when I'm not going for the 2 days, like you said, my brain is like just giving me an excuse. Like, hey, I canceled the class yesterday. Let me cancel it today as well.
Correct.
Hey, you know what? Let me just sleep a little longer. And that happens, right? But when I'm saying, like, there's no option of you thinking of, am I going or not? Because that is already decided, that the class is already booked and you have to go.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, right? So
the thing is about delayed gratification. So you'll notice the things that give you immediate gratification are easier to, if you skip, pick up again. Like if you're telling somebody that smoking is easy to lose as a habit, no. So it's not that all habits are easy to lose. It's the habits that have immediate gratification that are difficult to break. The habits that have postpone your gratification, delayed gratification, are the ones that are difficult to, or easy to break rather. So that's where you have to get it in from. So if you're doing something fun and you enjoy it, you will still probably end up sticking to it. So maybe your workout is a dance class. The chances of you missing the dance class are far lesser than the chance of you missing something that you find boring, like maybe for me, it is doing cardio.
Yeah. So Ashdin, you were talking about, when we are thinking about habit and, creating a structured life, we forget the human aspect of it. And when I think more about it, and this is something that I've been thinking, recently, like when I see kids playing in the park and stuff like that, they don't have like, a very structured life too, that they will play whenever they want. And I remembered my, young, or when I was in college and school, those days and also when you look at evolutionary evolutionary, when as humans, we're just like, there was no structure, like you need to do it every day and so on and so forth. People had time to laze around and do nothing. And the more we are getting into the structured life, we completely are forgetting the whole thing about like just doing nothing, right? Just chill. So do you think that's also because it becomes very difficult for us to kind of get into the whole mechanical thing, because we just don't, in our whole scenario, just give the time to laze around and just do nothing?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 points that you made, okay? The first point is that as kids, we did nothing, we didn't have habits. No, you realize if you actually watch kids, they are the most structured habit-wise. You'll also notice with Jamun, there'll be a certain time when she'll wake up, then certain time she wants food.
There is.
Across the animal kingdom, there are habits, and mainly because we are linked to the sun and our circadian rhythm exists.
Yeah.
Right? So the circadian rhythm automatically puts us in some form of habits.
Yeah.
So it's always that we had habits. Right? How do you put a child to sleep? You change their clothes, you first give them a bath, change their clothes, give them a nursery rhyme. All habits. Like a child that has habits thrives. In fact, the second book that's coming out is for children. Right? It is 8 Habits for Children.
Oh.
So that will come out May sometime. But that is the idea behind this, right? So everyone has habits, children also have habits. What we forgot to do is we've forgotten to add downtime into our day. Okay, so just yesterday I was doing a workshop called Work Habits I Wish Someone Had Taught Me When I Was 25. Okay, because I realized that people don't teach us how to work.
Yeah.
People teach us what to do, they don't teach us how to do how to structure our work life, right? And we end up working the way that we studied, and studying is very different from working.
Yeah.
So what I realized is that everyone was burning out and they hadn't scheduled the downtime. This happened very apparently during the lockdown, right? It was glaring you in the face. I had done many workshops for Google, so Google Southeast Asia, Europe, all of these places. Google had given their employees a huge package to create a home office. That means they were comfortable at home. However, Google had a problem that everyone was burning out. They were not functioning. And they asked me to figure this out. And we started conducting workshops. And we realized that there was no structured downtime to their day. They woke up in the morning, looked at their phone, work started.
Yeah.
Right? In the middle of at night, if you are watching Netflix, your phone pings, you pick it up, it's a work thing, you're still working. There was no downtime that they were experiencing. And creating downtime as a habit was what we had to actually do. So for us now, we have to be conscious about creating downtime.
Yeah.
We become conscious about creating work. We think about it the other way now.
And what will that downtime look like?
So what I say, it is making a coffee and looking out the window time, right? Even staring at a wall time, right? It is not listening to music time.
What do you do?
It is not watching TV time. It is not anything. Even that coffee technically is a distraction from your downtime. Your downtime has to be a down time.
What do you do?
I look out the window. So I make myself a coffee. I have a sofa in my room that has that L shape. So I spread my legs out, sit down and look out the window. And that's it. And that is my 20 minutes of downtime. In the afternoon, I take a 20-minute power nap. Right? So that is my downtime then. So that way you structure your day out so that you're still full of energy. Right? Today I woke up at 3:30 to come to Delhi. Right? I made sure that I had that 20 minutes of a nap before I drove from Gurgaon to Delhi so that I could record this podcast and be fresh for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, where is the energy going to come from? So that way you have to schedule your downtime, knowing where your energy is going to be used and how it's going to be used through the day.
And for you to wake up fresh and for you to win the morning like we discussed, you need to sleep on time, right? And a lot of people say that, hey, wake up in the morning, but like first sleep on time, right?
Yeah.
So what does the evening routine look like for you?
So for me, it is my level best. I try and be in bed by 10:30.
Okay.
Right? But social engagements make sure that you're here, there, everywhere. The key thing is that you need to realize that you should not be tired to sleep. We often mistake sleep as downtime. Actually, sleep is the most active time for the body because the night sleep, especially, is the time when the body is repairing itself. It is working on your memory, your lymphatic drainage is taking place. All these activities are taking place while you're sleeping, right? Your hormones are getting developed, which is why the lesser you sleep, the less testosterone you have. All these things make a big difference. So if you realize this, that means that this whole myth about I need to be tired, my eyes need to be droopy to sleep is wrong. And many people, including me, many, many years ago, used to just spend time watching TV so that our eyes got tired so we could sleep. Right? That is not the way to do it. In fact, what you have to do is you have to realize that you have to calm down to sleep. Right? And the best way of doing this is first switch off all the lights. Then change into your pajamas. Don't have your pajamas. Don't wear your pajamas around the house. The third thing to do is find something that is relaxing. So maybe watching Terminator 3 is not the thing to do at that point of time. Maybe it is about reading a book, right? Maybe it is time that you spend playing with your puppy, right? It is time that is relaxing time. It's dark. And slowly you'll realize that your body now wants to sleep. What's interesting is that our melatonin, which is a sleep hormone, right? There's lots more to melatonin. Like for now, we'll call it sleep hormone. First gets released at 8 o'clock. Right? So technically, we could go to sleep at 8. But there's so much happening in life. So then the next time it gets released is 1.5 hours later. So about 9:30, 10ish, you'll get your next round of sleep. After that, you'll get your next round of sleep 1.5 hours later after that. Right? So you'll notice that these are the times when you typically fall sleepy. 8ish is when you'll get your first joka. Then after that, when you're about your 9:30, 10ish, when you'll get your second one. If you don't listen to it, after 11:30, 12, right? And you notice these are actually the times when most people end up sleeping. So you need to know which melatonin wave you need to ride for the morning that you want to have.
That's really interesting. You talk about melatonin, and one of the recent the light hacks that I have figured out is, and I have heard of this concept a couple of years back, right? So the whole concept of shutting down all the blue lights and not looking at the screens at least a couple of hours before you go to the bed and stuff like that. So of course, like, I won't say it is anywhere close to even perfect or anything, but for phones, like I have put the the blocker app, the blue light blocker app, and same with the computer as well, like f.lux. That's for the computer, and for phone, now iPhone has the night mode, and also there are a lot of options, right? So everyone has the night mode, so put it on night mode and just turn the screen so that there's no light. But for the room light,
and you have to turn the brightness down.
So
that is something people forget. So this is like bright light with the screen, the blue blocker.
With the blue blocker. But for the room light, what I have done is, so now I have figured the smart light that I have at my home. Now it allows you to set the schedule. Now, so it's all automatic. You just have to set it up on your phone on the app once and it's done, right? So what I've done is, the moment the clock hits 8, the white light turns to yellow, bright yellow.
Lovely.
Now that's not white light anymore. And the moment clock hits 10, it hits red. And recently I have figured that red light, it's not actually yellow, but it's like a red light is even better than the yellow light for the melatonin, right? And the moment it hits 10, it's red. Now that means like I barely can see anything in my room, right? When it's a red light, that means, oh, it's time to now, get to sleep. And
the fun thing is when you have parties, right? So we had set up all this a few years back in our house as well. So we once had a party where now, because of what I do, slowly parents started listening. Before that, parents never listened to you. So slowly parents started listening. So all of their sleep alarms went off at the same time, including mine. And they were like, okay, guys, damn. 1, 2, 3, padak! All the lights suddenly went off. Everything went red in the middle of a dinner party. Right? So really funny when these things are on your automation start happening.
Yeah.
But the key thing to also realize is that setting this up is fantastic, but setting up the nightlight to go to the toilet, right? Because most of us have that bright white light in the
in the
bathroom,
washroom. Yeah.
right? So at 4 in the morning when you suddenly feel like
Oh,
going
yeah,
to pee,
yeah.
black, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you're missing the pot.
Yeah.
So as a result, what you do is you get one of those red light bulbs for the bathroom.
For the washroom.
It's a big,
Yeah.
big difference to your night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then the moment clock hits 6 in the morning, bright white light just automatically
Wakes you up.
sort of wakes me up, right? And it's like all of a sudden it's pretty much like bright light. So
You have to find your
really-
schedule in that
you
way.
find your own schedule in that way, and it works for me. So and I think that has really helped me kind of understand. Oh, now it's a red light. That means put everything down, and it's time
Correct.
for you to put
The
your
only tweak I would make is your 8 o'clock, make it 7 because it should be around sunset. Then you have that transition. So that white light has become sunset light.
sunset light. Yeah.
So then you've got that transition properly
Yeah.
because it is then still bright. It's black outside at 8 o'clock, but then it's white inside.
It's white inside.
So
yeah.
that would be the only probably tweak that I would make to that schedule. But otherwise, great. Automating it is fun, like I said.
That's fun. Yeah, and it's
But the other thing you can do is wear blue blocking glasses. So have you bought these?
yeah.
Right, so you get these amber glasses that you put on, which prevent the blue light from coming, and it's actually quite cool. You
Very
actually
cool,
hold it up to blue light and it's black.
It's black. Yeah.
So that's the other thing that you can do. So like the sofa would turn black.
Yeah. Awesome. So, what are the other things that you'd like to say for somebody who wants to build great habits? Anything that we haven't covered that you want to add? Maybe some of the, now that we're coming towards the end of this.
I think the most important thing to do is to first not take too many habits on at a time. Okay, so no more than 3 habits at a time you should change. New habits.
New habits.
Right? If you already have an old habit, I don't find the need to track it. Okay, so many people start tracking an old habit and then they feel really good about themselves. Okay, fine, but you didn't really need to track it, right? So I went to the toilet in the morning. No, you don't really need to track that. It happens. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to track only the new stuff that you're putting in, so that you're less stressed out about it. Right? You're trying to basically make your life easy. You're not trying to make it hard. The second thing that I would tell people is don't try and make hardcore changes to your life. Make them small, make them subtle, and make them continuous. So if there is something that you're going to do dhamal se, don't necessarily put that as a habit. Once in a while you can do it, but apart from that, don't make it a habit. And finally realize that ultimately the beauty in life is a conscious life. Right? Yeah. It is not a subconscious, half-lived life where you suddenly wonder where all the time went. So if you can make conscious habits, if you can live life more mindfully, more present, I think that is the goal for everything.
Awesome. This has been such a great conversation, Ashdin. Change your habit, change your life. That's the name of Ashdin's new book. Pick it up. There's a lot that you can learn from that when it comes to changing habit, building new habits, good habits, the habit, and also again, Ashdin would argue that there are no good and bad habits, but the habits that will help
the habits
you grow.
that will help you grow.
Yeah,
and if you ever run out of habits that you don't know what to start with, please go to the podcast. Like I was telling you outside, there are about 1,000 episodes for you to choose from.
Absolutely, Habit Coach,
the Habit Coach podcast.
Yeah.
So you can start listening to it as soon as possible, and then go get the book and then completely change your habits and change your life.
I love that. So I'm going to link all of that in the description of this episode. Check his podcast out, check his book out, and let us know what you think about this episode on Instagram.
Perfect.
And also drop him a text on Instagram saying that we discovered you on Bijay's podcast. That would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This has
All
been
right.
fun.
Thank you.
Awesome.